Okay. Is it going?
Oh no.
We're real professional here. Yeah, it is. Okay. Hey,
Got it.
everybody. This is Logan and Keith coming to you. We are going to. This is going to be in lieu of our Wednesday night Bible class. It's a podcast, but we've kind of have this video element as well, so you can get all of our expressions. Sometimes Keith says something and it makes me just really angry, and I want you to.
Plus, you got to see our faces, right?
Yeah. You know,
There's someone out there that's missing that.
Honestly,
I know it.
I don't know how this works, because when the screen
either.
is yellow, is it going to switch like in the recording?
I know, that'd be weird, because like, what happens if we both talk at the same time?
I don't know. Try to say something.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4,
4,
5,
5,
6,
6,
7,
7.
8.
See it. It just, I think
We'll find out. We'll find out afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's crazy.
That was very scientific, though.
That would be pretty cool if it did that, though.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Ready as I'm going to be.
Today, I want to talk about something that I've been studying, kind of a theme. So one thing that's really good, I think a good practice, is to start reading your Bible with a completely fresh perspective. Try to get rid of any ideas or preconceptions of anything and try to approach it for the first time. I'm trying to do that. And when you get to 1 Samuel chapter 2, and that's where I kind of want to start here. In 1 Samuel chapter 2, Hannah prays a prayer of thanks, and she mentions a king, but at this time there is no king. So Keith has this thing where he's taking notes. So this is what I want to talk about today. So write this down so we don't forget.
Okay.
I want to start with Noah's blessing to Shem, because there seems to indicate something there of a, I'm going to say this, and if we go read it and it doesn't say this, then I'll be wrong, but here we go. A bowing down of Ham and Japheth to Shem. I find that kind of interesting. There seems to be kind of a superiority, but not in the sense of value, but in the sense of just selection.
Yeah. So I got Noah to Shem.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's first.
Right.
And then the second one I want to look at is when God says something to Abraham, which I thought was kind of interesting.
What's that?
Well, we'll look at it. It's in Genesis.
No. I lost you there for a second. Sorry.
Okay.
I am getting some lag.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was getting some lag earlier.
I don't know.
Too,
it was weird. I think probably because we're recording now. Say it again. So what are we looking at next?
Okay,
Noah to Shem, and then next
Shem, and then God says something to Abraham that I think is very interesting with reference to royalty. Almost like there is kind of an expectation of royalty. Okay, so you got that one. And then I want to look at the blessing from Jacob, Israel. So you got Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Jacob blesses all of his sons, but there's something especially interesting about his blessing to Judah. Okay. Now, if you're looking at this through Christian eyes, it's like, oh yeah, that all makes sense. But look at it through just a completely fresh perspective. You've never read this before. You're reading it for the first time. You're trying to collect data, and this data is stacking up piece by piece.
Right.
Okay. So we've got Jacob's blessing to Judah. Okay. So Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus. Okay. Numbers, you think of Numbers, you think of a book that just is a bunch of rebellious people. But there's also something kind of interesting, a little gleam of hope in a blessing from the guy Balaam. Do you know the name Balaam?
Right.
Balaam blesses. So they want Balaam to go and curse Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently I don't know. This is someone who his blessings and his curses are very valid for some reason. I don't know much about that. I don't know if we do. All we know is if he blesses someone, they're going to be blessed, and if he curses someone, they're going to be cursed. And so he is going to, he is kind of commissioned to go and curse, and yet he gives a blessing. Well, there's something in the blessing, I think, that's very interesting. He does it numerous times. How many times? Like 4 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And fool me once, shame on you. But he's got
Right.
4 chances, right? So there's something
Yeah,
there.
You think they'd quit after a while.
Yeah. Okay. 3 strikes, you're out. Okay. One more time.
Right. You know? Yeah. Okay. We'll give you one more chance.
Okay. You get one more chance. And then right after that, it's just like, okay, they went their own ways, you know?
Yeah. They weren't even really all that mad about it.
Let's just forget that happened. Anyways, okay, so Balaam's blessing, there's numbers, Deuteronomy. Okay, there's something in chapter 17 that is interesting because, you might say, well, that seems kind of irrelevant, but it's not irrelevant, and we'll look at that. And then Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges.
Hold on, what were we looking at in Deuteronomy? I'm taking notes here. And I've got
Deuteronomy 17.
Chapter 17. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then in Judges, the last line in Judges. Okay. And then the last line in Ruth. Okay, so you get the last section in Judges and the last section in Ruth. Now, the Hebrew Bible is split up a little bit different than ours. It's organized. It's called the Tanakh. And you've got the T, the N, and the K, and they all stand for something different. You've got the T, which stands for Torah, the N, which stands for Nevi'im, and the K, which stands for Ketuvim, or whatever, something like that. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But the point is, you've got the law, the prophets, and the writings. And Ruth doesn't come up until like the writings. So the law, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, okay, those 5, and then the prophets. And you're going to have the former prophets and the latter prophets, and that's going to include like Joshua, Judges, and Samuel, and Kings, and then Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, the 12.
Daniel.
No.
Oh, no, Daniel's the writings.
Yeah, Daniel's
or he's the
writings. Yeah. Which is interesting. Okay, yeah, I get it. That's strange. It's cuckoo. But no, it's not. It makes a lot of sense. But okay, but the point is, Ruth doesn't come up until much later. Chronologically, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But
right.
I was just thinking about this. The one thing I don't really like about this is there is no timer on here.
No, there's not. I've just got my clock pulled up, and I've been keeping track.
Oh, you are? Okay, good.
If we're trying to get this up before 7, we got about a 30-minute window we're working with here. So
okay, so
I think we can cover that. You got a pretty good little laundry list there, but I think we can go
Sure.
through it pretty quick.
Okay,
especially since you've gone over most of this.
Yeah, and we won't spend too much time. Keep an eye on the clock and make sure we're not spending too much time on something. We can move on.
Sure.
And then we'll close with Hannah's prayer of thanks for Samuel in chapter 2, which is, again, I just think it's weird, like it's mysterious because it hasn't happened yet. Okay, what's the first one we were going to do?
We were going to talk about Noah's blessing to Shem.
Okay, that's going to be,
which I guess would be what, Genesis 4?
Genesis 4. No. What am I thinking? Genesis 9.
Yeah. Okay.
4. 4. Genesis 9.
Stupid guess. Genesis 9.
Genesis 9. Okay, so Noah has gotten drunk,
right?
And Ham has, I guess, went to go look at him naked. It's all very awkward. I don't know exactly his purpose, his intention, motivation behind why he was doing it. Some preachers have suggested that there was something sexual going on. I don't know. I'll let you go look at that for yourself.
Point is, there was some shame caused.
Yeah, right. And there's probably something behind like his intention, his motivation. Like when he went and got his brothers, maybe he was like, "Come look at this,"
ridiculing him, right?
Yeah, right. So he curses Canaan, which is not him.
Right.
Okay. It's the son of him, which you might begin to ask, okay, why is he cursing the son for his father's sin? God's not supposed to do that. And there's a passage in Ezekiel, I think we may have referenced it last week, that said God's not going to do that. But there is this idea in Deuteronomy that talks about how, in Exodus, when he's giving his description of himself, God giving his description of himself, is that he is not going to let sin go unpunished, and he's going to punish it to the second and third generation or something like that. This is not to say that he's going to punish children for their father's sins so much. I think instead, what it's talking about is you're going to have to suffer the consequences of your father's actions, which is very different. It's very different, because if
it's like David. It's like David when David loses his child.
Yeah, that's right. So what did the child deserve that? Well, no, of course the child did not deserve that. And also, what else? There's numerous examples of this, I think. For example, if you just have a bad father, right? I mean, if you just have a bad father, a bad sinful father, you've got to live with that your entire life. And you've got to somehow deal with that. I mean,
even if you don't, I mean, every day you pay for the mistakes of other people,
right?
That made them even before you were born. Every single day,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's
precedent.
There's precedent, and there's.
It stinks, but it's like that's just the way things are. And I think when God says that, I think what he's trying to indicate is your sin is much bigger than you. And I'm not going to just sweep that away because you want to go and have a good time.
Right.
I mean, it's a big deal. So he says, cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants, he shall be to his brethren. Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. Okay. So we've got kind of a selection here taking place of preference.
Which verse are we in?
That is verse 26 of chapter 9.
Yeah, here I am. Let's see it. Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So there's a superiority here. There's again, not a superiority of importance or value, but a superiority of just selection, I think. May God enlarge Japheth. May he dwell in the tents of Shem. Okay, so a superiority of Shem. And may Canaan be his, be his servant. Okay. So we start with this idea that there is something significant about Shem, and that's really all we know. It is a prediction, it's a prophecy that Shem is going to be superior in some way.
Mm-hmm.
But what I find absolutely fascinating, okay, think about this. Adam and Eve were the father and mother of all mankind.
Yeah.
The majority of mankind dies in this flood, and now mankind is yet again coming into existence, right? Through Noah and his family. And so this is all we have of mankind, these three categories, and the majority of them are going to be bowing down to these descendants of Shem. What I find interesting about that is, when does that happen?
Jesus, right? Oh, okay. Did I spoil it? I'm sorry. I'm the king of that. I thought you were legitimately asking me. You do that. You legitimately ask me questions, and then one time I think you're not.
It's like I tried to build this up, man. We're trying
that
to
blew
build
the
this.
Whole thing. Can you go back through and censor me? Can you go back through and put a beep over me when I say that? It'll make it sound like I'm saying a swear word.
No, that's okay. I think everybody was thinking it.
I don't know. Yeah. So you got to know who Shem. You got to know which family Shem becomes the father of, right? Which nation Shem becomes the father of. That's where we get the word Semite, right? So Shemite.
Yeah. Exactly.
Israelites.
That's right. So
that's funny too, because you do that to me all the time, where you're like, you're asking me a question and I think you're not, so I don't answer, and then you're like, no, I'm asking you a question. And the one time I do.
I know. Anyways, okay, so but think of it from fresh eyes. Does this ever happen in the Old Testament? And as we read through the Old Testament, we're going to be asking this question: when does this happen? When does this take place? I think a case can be made with specific times, but it definitely doesn't have the flair, the significance of what Noah is predicting here. I mean, this is a pretty big prediction. And
so you're talking about there's other situations like Joseph and his brothers, right? All the brothers will bow down to Joseph. Sure, and then you've got that, and it's representative of the right, but it still doesn't feel as heavy as the only three of the four people on earth.
Yeah.
And two of them are going to bow down to the other one. That seems to me to represent some kind of majority, right, or some kind of large parts of the whole.
Yeah, and it seems like a royal prediction,
right?
Royal expectation. I don't mean royal in the sense of it's going to be big. No, but what I mean is literally royal. There seems to be kind of an expectation for a king. So what's the second one that we said we were going to look at?
God to Abraham, which I assume Genesis 12. Is that what you're going to be talking about there, or no?
It's later.
Okay, that's Abram. Gonna be after 14.
Check 14. I found it earlier today, and then
It's not 14. He's still Abram in 14. It's gonna be like.
Well, that.
Oh, it could be the one towards it. Is it 17? Abraham and the covenant when Abram was 99.
Yeah, it is 17.
I am God Almighty, walk before me and be blameless.
Start reading in verse 4.
Sure.
And stop in verse 6.
Behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be the father of a multitude of nations. No longer shall your name be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham. For I have made you the father of a multitude of nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make you into nations, and kings. There's your word, I think you might be.
Yeah.
And kings shall come from you, and I will establish my.
That's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's interesting, though. I mean, you've got this prediction that something's going to come through Shem. It's going to be big. It's going to be royal. And now it's indicating through Abraham, who is descended from Shem, as the text makes clear in chapter 11, I want to say.
Right.
And now we have an indication that it's, the nation of that's going to come from Abraham is going to be a big deal, but even more than that, there's going to be kings, royalty. So we have a royal expectation. So we need to be expecting a king,
right?
As a particular one. Okay, what's the next one we wanted to look at?
Jacob to his sons, but specifically to Judah.
Okay, so that's going to be at the end of Genesis. And they're going to have journeyed to Egypt.
Not quite the end, right?
Not quite the end. No, chapter 39. 49.
That is pretty much the end. I think there's only 50, yeah.
Yeah. 49.
Yeah, Jacob blesses. Yeah, there we are.
Which I would argue some of these blessings aren't really blessings. Let's see.
Blessings in disguise.
Unstable.
Where do you want me to start?
You shall not excel. When he's talking about Reuben, that stinks. Start in verse 8.
Verse 8.
Just Judah, your whole blessing, yeah.
Judah, your brothers shall praise you. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's son shall bow down before you.
Okay. What does it say? Your
hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Okay. And your father's sons.
If you listen to the sermon on Sunday, what is significant about that statement? What does that point to? I'm not asking you. I'm asking.
That's why I didn't answer.
I'm assuming you didn't watch it.
I don't want to blow it.
No, that's okay. That's okay. It points to. Think about it. It points to. In the sermon, I said that David said that you gave me the necks of my enemies. There was this thing that would happen, and when David slew Goliath, he cut the neck. And when Dagon fell before the ark, it broke at the neck.
Right.
And when Eli fell off his chair, he broke his neck. when people were victorious, they put their foot on
Neck,
the
yeah.
neck. We've got this theme, and I think it traces all the way back to, and I'm not trying to stretch this out bigger than what it should be stretched, so don't take this the wrong way. But when God cursed the serpent, he said that the seed of the woman would crush the serpent's head. Now, I think that is significant here because the neck of the enemy is going to be given to Judah. We're talking about victory. We're talking about winning. And
Right.
if you watch the sermon, you've got the spoilers, in the sermon. But you understand what I'm talking about. This is coming specifically from Judah, which is interesting. Keep going.
Right, because Judah is a lion's cub. Sorry, I'm yawning so much. I don't know why. Judah is a lion's cub.
It's okay.
No, it's not that, man. I just got a newborn. Judah is a lion's cub. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He stooped down. He crouched as a lion and as a lioness. Who dares rouse him?
Did you skip your father's children shall bow down before you?
Oh, well, I read it earlier. I thought you.
Oh,
yeah, your father's children.
okay.
Your father's son shall bow down before you.
Okay, I think that's interesting too, because that's kind of the terminology of Shem
Joseph.
and
Yeah.
Shem, Ham,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Japheth.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Right. Which when you think of this kind of terminology, you think of the children bowing to Joseph.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, wait a second. Wait, Judah?
He just flipped that one on him.
Yeah. Kind of like when he was blessing Manasseh and who's the other son? Ephraim. It's like he put his right hand on the one, the younger, and his left hand on the older. Yeah, he flipped it. It's like, are you sure you're blessing the right thing? So lions bow down, lions. Okay. Verse 10.
The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until tribute comes to him, and to him shall be the obedience of the peoples.
Okay, we can stop there for the sake of time, because the rest of that I need to study a lot more, because there's hints in that seem significant, but I don't know if I can flesh it out yet. But
Sure.
But the point is, what's a scepter?
Are you asking me for real?
Yeah, if you know.
Right, that's a ruling instrument, right?
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't really know.
Oh, well, it's like a staff.
I'd have to Google it. But yeah, I mean,
a staff.
It indicates
royalty,
kingship. Yeah, royalty. Yeah. There is something royal that's going to be produced from Judah. So there's royal expectation in Shem, royal expectation in Abraham, royal expectation in Judah, and it's going to have special significance. And so we're working backwards here, which is, I think, is absolutely fascinating. With Judah, it's going to have Jewish significance, and with Abraham, it's going to have significance, but in Shem, it's going to have what kind of significance? Worldwide significance. We're talking about mankind. We're talking about everybody. That's interesting. And I want to put a pin in that, because when we get to 1 Samuel, I think it's going to clear up what we were talking about before we started this. But anyways, okay. What's the next one we wanted to look at?
Balaam in Numbers.
Balaam in Numbers.
Yeah, Numbers.
Yeah,
I don't know where in Numbers. 24 or 25 in Numbers, somewhere around there.
When there's 2 A's, I think you're supposed to pronounce both of them.
Balaam.
Kind of like Baal.
Baal, which we just call
Baal.
I mean, when you say Baal, you're technically pronouncing both of them, not to be nerdy linguistically speaking.
We Americanize
Baal.
Baal.
You're saying both of them.
Baal. Anyways, so Baal is put in this very awkward position where he is commissioned to bless, and he doesn't have a blessing.
Sure.
He can't bless if he doesn't have a blessing, or I'm sorry,
cursed.
Yeah, thank you. He's commissioned to curse, and he doesn't have a cursing. Now, okay, I'm actually asking this question. Okay,
which chapter are we in first?
We're in chapter 23.
3. Okay, I was off a little bit. Okay.
But we're actually going to look in chapter 24. So chapter 24 is the answer. Blessing and curse. Blessing and curse. When's the now? Notice where we are in the Bible and in the book of Numbers. Where's someplace in the past where God has talked about blessing and curse?
To the in the law, right? To the people of Israel in the law.
Okay, but we're in Numbers.
Numbers, yeah.
Genesis,
Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, right?
So we're not to Deuteronomy yet. So
sure.
Where's the last time?
The last time?
Well, not the last time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Give me
a significant example.
A significant time.
Blessing and curse. I don't know, man. I don't know which one you're. I don't know which one you're goading at specifically. Abraham. I got to go a little further back. Yeah.
Okay. What does God say to Abraham?
He says he's going to bless all nations through him.
Okay.
Is that what you're talking about?
And then, yeah. What else? He's going to bless those who
bless him and curse those who curse him.
Okay. Interesting. So,
Balaam's really had to hold my hand to get there.
Yeah, that's okay. No, you got it. You knew it. You know the answer.
Oh, I know it deep down inside.
But Balaam's got a lot riding on this, doesn't he? I mean,
sure.
If he brings a curse to Israel, he's going to be in bad shape. I don't know if he knows that in Genesis chapter 12.
Sure.
There's no indication of Balaam saying, according to Genesis chapter 12. No. But yeah, this is he's got a lot riding on this. So, and he does the right thing. He blesses. He does not curse.
Right.
So what is the blessing? Let's look at the fourth prophecy, the fourth one.
Sure.
Starting in verse chapter
15.
24, verse 15 in the book of Numbers. Yeah, go ahead and read that.
And he took up his discourse and said, "The oracle of Balaam, the son of Beor, the oracle of the man whose eye is open, the oracle of him who hears the words of God and knows the knowledge of the Most High, who sees the vision of the Almighty falling down with his eyes uncovered. I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star shall come out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel. It shall crush the forehead of Moab and break down all the sons of Sheth."
Okay. Yes. Very interesting. And he talks about this in earlier blessings of different nations as well. And so he's going to talk about Moab, which when we get to Ruth was a Moabitess.
Moabite, yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting too, I think. But anyways, he talks about Moab, he talks about Edom. Who is Moab and Edom?
Canaanites.
No.
They're not Canaanites?
No. Moab, the Moabites, and the Edomites. The Moabites descended from
Japheth.
Lot.
Oh, okay.
And the
Edomites
descended from
Enoch, right?
Esau.
Okay.
Good.
Esau.
You said Esau. I heard you say Esau.
I see. So I knew it started with an E.
I'll have to go back and check.
I can't ever remember.
I'm pretty sure you said Esau.
I've said Esau. Yeah. Don't start asking me questions anymore. We'll just make all of those.
Rest your brain.
Yeah, we'll make all those.
I'm gonna need to rest my brain.
Edom from Esau, right?
Yes.
Edom.
So okay. We're talking about a superiority here. Again, not of value, but of preference of the descendants of Israel over these other nations. And also a scepter,
right,
and a star, which is interesting, which I won't get too much into that because I have some speculation, but I'm not sure. But we can talk about scepter because that I think we can be pretty clear on.
That's, yeah.
We're talking about
kingly terminology. Yeah. Where are you seeing
Okay.
star at anyway? I don't have that one in my. Maybe
Oh,
my
what does yours
translation doesn't.
say? Verse
I don't know where
17.
mine's verse 17. Oh yeah. A star shall come out of Jacob. I did read that. I was looking further down. Sorry. Yeah, star shall come out of
I
Jacob.
know that it's perhaps a star indicates like permanence. I've indicated that before in previous sermons. I think that that's sound. I think that that's fair. You know, we're talking about something that is and we're talking about something that's glorious.
Right.
And I talked about that a little bit in my sermon, spoiler alert, on Sunday. So, but there is a royal expectation. So, royal expectation from Shem, royal expectation through Abraham, royal expectation through Judah, and then again a royal expectation through
Israel.
With a worldwide implication, right?
Sure. All the way through.
All the way through. Deuteronomy 17.
Yeah, that's our next one.
Deuteronomy 17, verse 14, and I'll tell you when to stop because we just want to get the.
When you come to the land that the Lord your God is giving you, and you possess it and dwell in it, and then say, I will set a king over me like all the nations that are around me, you may indeed set a king over you, whom the Lord your God will choose. One from among your brothers you shall set as king over you. You may not put a foreigner over you who is not your brother, only he must not acquire many horses. He may not acquire many horses for himself, or cause the people to return to Egypt in order to acquire many horses, since the Lord has said to you, you shall never return that way again, and he shall not acquire many wives for himself, lest his heart turn away, nor shall he acquire for himself excessive silver and gold.
Keep going.
And when he sits on the throne of his kingdom, he shall write for himself in a book a copy of this law approved by the Levitical priests, and it shall be with him, and he shall read it in all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God by keeping all the words of this law and these statutes and doing them, that his heart may not be lifted above his brothers, and that he may not turn aside from the commandment, either to the right hand or to the left, so that he may continue long in his kingdom, he and his children in Israel.
Okay.
And historically, we know that all of the kings did this perfectly every time.
They did a fantastic cut-up job. I'm
all
so
the way,
proud of them.
all the way through. And it didn't break down with like the first one. We know that definitely didn't happen.
Okay. Yeah. So God's going to choose a king. Okay. The people are going to want a king. He's going to choose a king. You know, and that's going to. But as of yet, there is no king.
Right.
But God says that there is going to be one, which is interesting because it doesn't really give a lot of detail as to who he's talking about here. He's just talking about
or when. He just says that it's going to happen.
Yeah, or when.
He even gives the exact reason for why it's going to happen, which is interesting.
Yes.
You look at all the nations around you.
Right. Okay, so a few questions that I have, okay? Does he indicate here that the nations of the earth are going to bow down to this king?
I kind of blanked out. Hold on. No, I don't think so. It didn't seem like it.
Okay. I didn't notice anything like that.
I didn't notice anything either, yeah.
Now, how about his status in regard to the rest of the children of Israel?
The king status? Yeah, he's got to be a brother from among them, right?
Okay, a brother. What about, is he elevated? I mean, is he elevated above them in any way?
It doesn't seem like it.
What does it seem like?
It seems like he has to be more resolute than the rest of them, right? So he's got more responsibility because he's a king,
right?
He's
got the heart of the Torah, heart of the law, heart of God's way,
right?
You know, he's got.
And this heart may not be lifted up above his brothers, right?
Okay,
so he's got to be.
Isn't that interesting? Okay, so we've talked about up until this point how the other brothers are going to bow down. So, for example, the blessing to Judah, the brothers are going to bow down to him. And I'm not saying that they won't bow down to him, but at least in the sense that he's not going to be superior in any way, really. I mean,
Right.
he's just going to be another
Right. As far as
Israelite.
king kingdoms go, this is kind of the ideal. Like if they had actually listened to this would be like the ideal way to do it, right? The king's just kind of an everyman that has a little more responsibility.
Sure.
That would be
sure.
a pretty good setup had they followed it. Right. And I see what you're saying. So he's commanded not to be superior to his brothers in any way. But is that the same thing? I mean, I keep going because I think I get what you're saying here. And I think it's going to make sense in my head. I'm not good at articulating.
No, you're good.
But I think I get the point you're trying to make.
So we have a royal expectation. And this royal expectation is going to be worldwide in scope. And the world is going to bow down to this royal expectation. It's going to come out of Israel. It's going to come out of Judah. But
right, and so it's hard. So it's strange though to reconcile this passage with the thought of the king coming out of Judah, right?
There's something mysterious about it.
And that's the point I was trying to think you were making, is that how do you reconcile this, which says that they're not going to bow down, right? They're all going to be equal, even the king, right? But then you've got other passages that say, right? So it would be hard to look at this, especially as an Israelite, and be like, what is he talking about there? Yeah. There's got to be something more to this than what we're seeing.
And I think let's move on, because I think we've summarized that well. I think there's some mystery. I think there's some I think we've got them guessing. Hopefully, if you're listening to this, you're chewing on this a little bit and you're going, okay, well, who is this talking about? And how does this coincide with everything we've looked at so far? Okay, so we've got this expectation. What's the next one on the list?
The last section of Judges.
Judges. Okay, let's go look at that.
By the way,
this one's real quick.
6:40. Go ahead. Where you want me to read?
Oh, yeah. When did we start?
About 6 o'clock. A little bit after 6.
Oh, okay. All right. We're running out of time. Okay, read the last verse 25, the very last verse of the entire book of Judges.
In those days, there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. And that was repeated several times throughout the book of Judges also.
Yeah, that last section was, yeah. But this idea of there's not a king in Israel, what is that trying to indicate? What is that implying?
Right. So the presence implies the absence implies the presence, right? So the absence of a king in Israel, or the mention of it, implies that there will eventually be a king in Israel, right?
Yeah. Again, I think it's solidifying this royal expectation. This is a period of time. There is not one over Israel. You're seeing how that's turning out. It's not working. Of course, you could always make the comment, like make the argument, oh, God should be their king. Yeah, that's true. But they're not treating him as their God. The judges are actually functioning a little bit like that, because, every time God sends a judge, God is showing grace and mercy, because the judges get him out of trouble and bring him salvation. So read Ruth. We're getting to Ruth. And
last section of Ruth.
Yeah, just look at verse 17, and then 18, and then stop. That's
of which chapter?
4, the last one.
Okay, 17 and 18?
Yeah.
Okay. And the women of the neighborhood gave him a name, saying, a son has been born to Naomi. They named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David.
Okay, you're reading this and you're like, okay. If you're reading chronologically like the Christian Bible has it,
yeah.
Again, the Hebrew Bible was a little bit different. This was placed,
and with our present knowledge, it makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah,
so
I get it.
It's just a natural. Yeah, this is a transition into David,
right?
The king, like you said, right?
So let's talk about this from a Hebrew Bible standpoint. I know we don't have a lot of time. We've gone a long time, but let's look at this from a Hebrew Bible standpoint. They put this closer to, I think, when they were in exile.
Yeah.
Why would the book of Ruth be given to people that were in exile?
Yeah, sure. Right, and so a lot of it would have been hopeful to them, right? A lot of it would have the idea of a redeemer,
Okay.
the idea of what do they call what was Boaz? He was the guardian redeemer, or am I saying that term right? He was the so the idea that someone is going to pull you out of your captivity, out of your servitude, right?
Yeah, Messiah.
A Messiah, yeah.
Yeah.
A little on the nose, but you know.
Well, Messiah means anointed one, and David
Yeah,
was
right.
the
No,
anointed one. Yeah,
I'm just making a joke. Yeah, no, I'm tracking. Yeah.
So
you could. It makes a lot of sense why this would be given to them.
So let's put this in the context that the people of God have gone off into captivity, and they're thinking, "Oh no, this is it. We're done for. We're gonna die in captivity and in exile, and the people of God, we're just
messed it up. We're gone.
Yeah, we messed up. It's over." And then someone comes out with an inspired book of God about the origin story of David. What is happening? Why? Let me remind you about where this David guy came from. Okay, what's the point?
Right. He came.
So connect that with all of the passages we've looked at thus far, and it's like, wait a second. David is the guy, It's like, whoa. And if you think about it, David's writings make up a majority of the Old Testament, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You've got 1st and 2nd Samuel,
book of Psalms.
Yeah. And then the Psalms, and then you've got his legacy that lives on in the Kings and the Chronicles, and you've got his writings in so it's just like, wow, this guy's a really big deal. Is this the guy? We talk about David, he's a big deal, but look at it through Jewish eyes for a second.
Right.
Is he the guy? We've been expecting a guy for hundreds and hundreds of years. Shem, Abraham, Judah. Is this the guy that's going to just bring, that's going to be God's rule over the world and going to bring peace to the land and is this the answer to the mankind problem that is?
See, now what my question to that is, David would have been long dead at that point.
Yes, he would have.
So then the answer is no.
The answer would then thus have to be no, but you still have this mysterious question. Well, if no, then who? Because everything seems to be pointing to
And
David.
might I suggest that there would be more hope in an answer of no, because
yes,
if the guy hasn't already come yet, because if David was the guy, then he's come and died. Where is our hope now? Right.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Exactly. It's the same philosophy in the Hebrew writer makes when he says, when David writes today, if you hear his voice, it's like you're already in the promised land. So why are you saying today?
Yeah.
Why are you saying there is a day of rest waiting for us if we're already in the day of promise?
Yeah, sure.
So there's this philosophy.
That's kind of ominous.
Yeah, it's like, what are you talking about?
Oh, okay.
And then why else?
We were here.
Why else isn't it David? I mean, don't get me wrong. David did, the whole thing that was not all of the stuff that wasn't accomplished in Joshua, David accomplished. So he expanded the kingdom until its biggest form. And so, this is a big deal. And he was a man after God's own heart. He had the heart of the Torah, and he was pretty much everything you wanted a king to be,
right, from
a Torah perspective.
But he wasn't the guy.
He wasn't the guy, and he wasn't perfect. Made lots of mistakes.
Not. Right.
And the blood that he shed even caused him to not be the guy to build the temple.
That's what I say. Yeah, God told him he wasn't going to be the one to get to build the temple because he wanted to Right? He wanted a man that didn't war to do it. So.
But what God does do with David is he's not the guy, but he makes a dynasty out of David.
Out of Judah.
From Judah, yeah.
Right.
And God tells, so we started with Judah, and that could be anybody from Judah, but now we've got a specific guy from Judah, as Ruth is indicating. Because we didn't read verse 18 to the end, but it says Perez, who is one of the twins of Judah.
Mm-hmm.
Perez to David. So now we're not just talking about Judah, we're talking about David, except David is not the end. You thought this was the guy that you were pointing to from the very beginning, but it's not the guy that God is pointing to from the very beginning. And so let's close with this. We've gone a long time. Let's close with Hannah's prayer. This is ominous. This is mysterious. If you read this for the first time, right, and you don't look at it with the Christian lens.
You want me to start? You want me to start
looking
with
at it
verse 1?
through a Christian lens. No, it's too long. Let's start with
verse 9.
Yeah, verse 9.
Yeah, he will guard the feet of his faithful ones, but the wicked shall be cut.
Saints, yeah,
right, and the wicked shall be cut off in darkness. For not by might shall a man prevail. The adversaries of the Lord shall be broken to pieces. Against them he will thunder in heaven. The Lord will judge the ends of the earth. He will give strength to his king.
Hold on just a second. We've got a worldwide order.
Right.
A world order that consists of the people of God being preserved and the wicked perishing.
Yep.
This is a worldwide kingdom. And also, read that last part.
He will give strength to his king and exalt the horn of his anointed.
Okay, good. We've got a worldwide order and an expectation of a king. Now, I am not saying that David is not the answer to that. Not at all. I think David is the answer to everything we've looked at thus far.
Right.
But he doesn't seem, at least in my opinion, he doesn't seem to fit as being the answer.
He's a piece of it, right? So
yeah, he's a large piece of it. So there is something there. So now we're not looking for David, we're looking for someone who is instead Davidic. A Davidic king.
Makes you wonder how they didn't catch that when Jesus came around. I'm not going to criticize anyone too much because it would have been confusing at the time, right? But I think the signs were kind of laid out for them.
Well, I think I what I like to think, and I could be wrong, is in Luke when Jesus is walking with the men on the road to Emmaus, and it says he went and expounded on the passages of the Old Testament that related to himself. I like to think that what we talked about in the last however long is exactly what.
Yeah, there's common knowledge, and to them, they're like, "Oh, that was you?
Yeah,
that was you, Jesus."
Right.
Yeah. So they start passing around money because they were taking bets and whatnot. You owe me $10.
I told you he's coming back.
I told you it was this guy. You thought it was David.
You know, those Jews, they were gamblers.
Yeah.
I don't know. They cast their lots.
They cast their lots. Yeah, they were cool.
Yeah,
it's pretty interesting.
So. Ruth comes out, and there is a king descended from David sitting in a Babylonian prison. Okay, Jehoiakim.
Right. Yeah, we talked about this last week.
Yeah, and it's like, wow. But then Ruth comes out, and you go, oh. So maybe Jehoiakim isn't the end.
Right, because if the guy's not David, it's got to be someone that's come from David.
Which is how the Hebrew Bible ends. Chronicles, it ends. Our Christian Bible ends with Malachi, which is like, okay, look for Elijah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Not look for Elijah. Don't look for Moses. don't look for David, look for Elijah. Okay.
Yeah.
If he said look for David, you'd say, okay, I'm looking for this Davidic king.
Yeah, we're looking for a king.
You're not looking for David. You're looking for Elijah.
You're not looking for a leader, you're right. You're not looking for a Moses. You're not looking for a David, a great leader or a great ruler. You're looking for a prophet. Someone humble, right?
Someone who is going to get you ready to receive the Lord. Make this path straight for the Lord.
Yeah, so it's weird though because it makes so both of them. So what I get from all this is twofold. Is that one I think is that the thing is arranged such that the message is applicable to the time period depending on how they arrange it, right? So you've got the same message in all of the books. The Hebrews, like you keep talking about the Hebrew Bible, we're talking about the same books. Right. It's just how they were arranged, right? But when you rearrange them, like say we got the Hebrew Bible the way they had it. Say we were reading it that way, right?
Yeah.
It might make less sense to us. We could probably still find it, but to them, it's just cool no matter how you take the story and put it in whatever direction you want to put it in. It still all points to this one guy. And it's still clear as day in hindsight.
Yeah, right? It really is.
And the second thing I want to note is that is that this is not something that I think we teach super well, because if it was, the question of why do we have the Old Testament wouldn't be important, or it wouldn't be necessary, right?
Yes.
No one would have to ask why do we have the Old Testament.
Bingo.
And if we were adequately explaining that, and it's like that book that I went through in our class, and I don't know if any of the kids remembered that.
Yeah. Was that Geiser? Who
the Geisler, Norman Geisler, the popular survey of the Old Testament, right? Yeah. But each book showed clearly a reference to Christ in some way or another, either a direct reference or like in principle or like an analog to Christ, right? Every book has something. Every book has a message, and it's all clearly, and like you said when you in your big sermon series you did, the arrow is being drawn from beginning to end,
right?
And so if we taught this, and I'm not saying any one of us are bad, maybe we're all bad at listening, maybe we are teaching it and we're bad at listening to it, but the question of why do we have the Old Testament? Is the Old Testament for us? These questions aren't going to be asked if you understand clearly that Jesus is in every chapter.
That's
Jesus is in every book, right?
In every book, yeah.
So, anyway, I think that's an interesting message.
And when Paul tells Timothy that the Old Testament is able to make you wise for salvation, I mean, it has what you need. All of the Christian principle that actually gets you to a point where you're like, oh, Jesus, I'm going to accept that guy, and I'm going to accept what he says. I'm going to make him my Lord, and I'm going to be immersed, and I'm going to obey him. Everything you need to get to that point and commit to that through the Messiah is in the Old Testament.
And not criticizing anyone's walk, but you almost wonder how you can get to that point without it, right? Without some extreme mental faking it.
I think you can get there, but boy, does that solidify your loyalty.
Yeah.
It's like, now I'm not just talking about a man. I'm not just talking about a guy with good ideas. I'm talking about the creator of the world. And this is literally what this 1,000-year literature, has been, divine literature has been pointing to since the creation of time. Okay, I am going to bow down to this guy and I'm not going to turn away. And it's like, I've got now the people in Judges, they did not have the heart to follow God. And now we're in a point in history where it's like, we have this completed word of God. It's got, and if it doesn't give you the motivation to have the heart to serve God and him only 100%, it's like nothing will. And so, but anyways, sign us out, Keith.
Hey, if you guys have any prayer requests, be sure to send them our way. Text us, let us know in some way. We get bored too. I don't have any announcements personally. Logan might have heard a thing or two.
I've got one. Frida Thomas, you've heard this because I think the one call went out. Frida Thomas passed away, and the service is going to be on Monday. So be praying for her family, a lot of them are not going to even be able to go to the funeral because of everything that's going on. It's going to be a small service, but it's she was a very special lady, and just what little I knew of her.
Was she at Dogwood?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had broken her hip, and she died very soon after that. So definitely keep
that family in your prayers.
That family in your prayers, yes. And
that's always tough, and especially now it's tough.
Yes.
Hope all of you are staying safe out there.
Mm-hmm.
Stay home. Be sure to edify one another.
That's what we're doing. We're staying home.
Call someone that you know from church. That'd be a good thing to do this week. Just if I had to leave you with a challenge, call someone you know from church. So anyway, I don't have anything else to say. I don't know about Logan. We'll get this posted pretty soon, and we will see you next week.
Okay, see ya. Oh wait, I gotta push. And see ya.